No, I can't see you, Steve.
No.
Okay, just 1 second. Hang on. I'll try this bit of technology. Where are we? Funny, I do this every time, and every time I have a bit of trouble. Hang on. Excuse me.
The bottom left-hand corner, you've got the mute and the stop video.
Yeah, start my video. Just try that one.
There you go.
There we go. Now we can see you.
Right, okay. So my waving was coming to naught. Sorry about that. Right. Okay, guys. As usual, I haven't got my agenda in front of me because I can't get it up on the screen. But have we actually got an agenda, or is it just
Okay.
loose?
I'll share it now. I'm sharing it now. Can you see it, Steve?
Thanks. Okay, great. Oh, okay, Jocelyn. Well, sorry. Well, welcome everyone who's here. Thank you very much for joining. Should we just kick off then? Let other people join as they come along. If they come along.
Indeed, I can add them in as they come along. The participants, I can see them.
Okay, so do fill us in then, Jocelyn or Keith, regarding the TAP grants, please. Got a TAP grant update?
So the Department for International Trade had a webinar for about an hour this morning. That's the reason why we had to defer this meeting.
Yep.
And the idea was to give us, it was Martin Cook running it, is to give us a future of the TAP program. But there wasn't anything that I could see that was anything drastic or unheard of. So basically the issue is obviously people are not having exhibitions because we're not physically having them. So what's happening with all that TAP grant money that we normally would have had for events? What's going to happen with that? So that doesn't affect us yet because Gulf Host is still happening. We do have TAP grants for Gulf Host until we hear otherwise, whether Gulf Host will happen or not. So it won't affect us, but it will affect other associations that had TAP grants for exhibitions that were in the first and second quarters and that have been moved on. He essentially said that if your event has been moved into the next fiscal year, there's no guarantee you will get the TAP grant money is not going to be moved along with it because they only operate on a year-to-year basis, which he said it's unlikely that you'll get it, which I'm not surprised by. Then
So that does mean that if Gulf Host were to be moved, as we think it might, to next year, then we'll be starting.
We'll be starting over. We'll have to request for the TAP grant money again.
And they're not guaranteeing anything.
No.
Right. Okay. But the same is going to apply to everybody else for every other exhibition.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes. He talked a lot about the role of trade challenge partners. So FEA is a trade challenge partner. We are essentially the go-between between DRT and the exhibiting companies. And talking about the admin becoming digital and the admin going in-house to DRT rather than us as the trade associations taking care of it. They're doing it in phases. They're trying to figure out how to do it. So it still is yet to be seen, but how that will work. That's what they're planning to do. I think they're just tightening everything. He also said that there'll be export strategy announcements, but they won't be until summer, autumn. He also said there's a government spending review this autumn, so that's also going to tighten things. And I think that just generally because of COVID that they are being very careful. However, he did mention that the ministers are going to make announcements on Monday regarding TAP grants for virtual trade shows. I don't know how that will work. He wasn't making any promises. He says he can't say anything because the announcement will be made Monday. So as soon as we hear anything on that for virtual trade shows, TAP grants, I don't know how that would work, but it's exciting if it could. Yeah, so those are the main points. Keith, did you attend the webinar, Keith? Do you have anything additional?
I didn't, Jocelyn. I was doing other webinars, okay. I'm afraid. So thanks for the report on that. Exciting on the virtual trade shows element. Be interested in what we might be able to do there because I think we could add significantly in that arena.
Yeah. He also mentioned virtual trade shows that were based in the UK but are considered international trade shows might still be able to apply for tap grants, which I thought was also very interesting, because you consider something, or even trade shows in general, that are international shows but physically based in the UK. I don't know how that would work, but he did mention that. He had a lot of technological difficulties with his webinar setup too, so he kept cutting in and out. So hopefully they'll give us a roundup by email of what exactly his points were.
Okay.
So that, any questions on, that's all related to tap grants, and those companies that actually qualify for tap grants, like Contactive. But there's not much to say yet. I think Monday will be another big day when they let us know about the virtual trade shows.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. So has anyone got any other questions about the tap grants at the moment then? Or
Slight, well, side question there. I've not heard anything on Gulf Coast. Is it definitely being moved? Is it 80% being moved into when?
We've not heard anything official yet. As we're concerned, it is still happening. There are rumors, but nothing. Everything's a rumor until we hear officially from the Gulf Coast exhibition.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've not heard anything.
Fair enough.
okay. So fine. Okay. What's next? Sorry, on that agenda. Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, we've got a guest speaker.
We have a guest speaker.
Great. Matt Roberts from Unox, Middle East.
How you
Matt,
doing?
hi. Oh, right. Now I've got you. Right. Okay. Welcome.
Right, let me sort this.
Over to you then, Matt.
Okay.
Want to share your
Jocelyn, could you unshare your screen a sec? Just so, there we go. I've got my notes back. Yeah, I'll just introduce myself. Obviously, I know Gary and Robert, Keith and Jocelyn. But for those who don't know me, I'm the Director of Customer Experience for Middle East and India for Unox. So I keep in contact with Keith and Jocelyn quite a lot, and just said, if you want me to jump on and give you guys an update of what we're seeing out there, because I've got a sales team spread all over the Middle East and in India. So I asked them to give me an update of what's going on the ground with dealers, with the markets, the governments, etc. And then I said to Jocelyn, I'll feed it back to you guys just for a little bit more information so you can do some short and long-term planning, really. So we'll kick off with the UAE. Obviously, this is the country most of us concentrate on. The dealers now are working around mostly 3-day weeks. I don't know any dealer which are back full time, but business is picking up. Restaurants are now open, bars are open, beaches are open, hotels are open. And from around mid-July, I think they'll start letting in tourists. They've just released a promotional video not too long ago, about 1 week ago, saying they're ready for tourists very, very shortly. So as we know, tourism is the bread and butter of their work. So middle to end of July, we'll see the tourist business pick up, which again will filter down to the restaurants, to the cafes, etc. So short term, we'll see. I haven't seen too much of a drop off anyway during the lockdown. People are still ordering. A lot of the Dubai businesses take away anyway. So we still saw sales of Unox products within Dubai during the lockdown. And then a bit more medium term, we will see a bump, I think, in the market as the dealers come back. Saying that, I do think we'll also see one or two of the big dealers go down with this pandemic due to the projects mainly. So dealers who are focusing on projects almost 100% with low margin work, I think we'll see one or two of the big ones kick it during this. I was speaking to an ingredient supplier in Dubai as well. He was saying he's back up to around 75% orders pre-COVID. His orders from cafes, coffee shops, restaurants. So if they're buying food, buying ingredients, it's going to filter down to us at some point in the near future. At the moment, though, all the dealers are complaining about payment terms. Anyone who wants to buy an oven, whether it's government or independent, they're looking for 60, 90, 120-day payment terms. So some of the dealers are being clever, not taking it. But I could see some dealers who are quite desperate taking this and being stung. So just be very careful with any dealers that are asking for difference in payment terms or anything like that. Even LC, I would be wary about at the moment, unless they're a very good dealer with you. As I'm giving these updates, it's open to questions if anyone wants to jump in at any point, by the way, so don't worry about that. Medium to long term for the UAE, the consultants have all said they're still busy. Any projects on the table at the moment are going ahead, and new projects are in the pipeline still. At the moment, they haven't seen a drop off yet. With the Expo 2020 being moved to 2021 as well, I think this will give us a nice bump towards the end of this year or at the start of next year to give the economy a good kickstart. So that's the UAE. Saudi Arabia are very much about to take a business over people outlook on life. And from Sunday, they are going to a back to normal status. Everything is open again from Sunday. So a lot of our dealers have been prepping for this. We've seen a lot of stock orders coming in. Saudi Arabia hasn't really skipped a beat in regards to Unox and orders. So they've always done takeaway like the UAE. So even though the lockdown happens, restaurants were still running over there, unlike the UK. But from Sunday, it is back to normal. I don't know whether I haven't had any feedback yet on flights and tourists, but for residents and people living within Saudi, it's business as normal.
I just read before that there's a real step up in employing Saudi nationals, and that's having a big knock on to everybody else. Have you heard anything on that?
Yeah, well, that happened about a year ago.
I think it's just ramped up over the last week or so, though, hasn't it? They've got to a next stage by the looks of it. I don't know what that would be, but yeah. Yeah,
I can imagine. But it will also be in part due to as well oil price dropping and COVID with expats leaving. Yeah. So I'm not sure they'll be pushing too many people out. But this has been a long-term strategy for Saudi anyway, to get the nationals in work. Whether it's the right strategy or not, we don't know. We haven't seen yet. But yeah, they're always trying to push to get rid of the expats, keep the money in the country. But I think long term for Saudi will be in our industry, especially will be good. There'll be a lot of projects coming up as they move away the focus from the oil to the tourism sector. You already now have the visa on arrival. For anyone who wants to go, you just apply online. You get your visa within 2 minutes, and the specialised desk at the airport, and you can go straight in. So we'll see a lot more hotel projects. We've just been awarded some hotels within this week, 2 of them in Saudi. So these are still going ahead, and I think there'll be a big ramp up in the next 1 to 4 years.
So can I just ask, Matt, with the visas, do you still need a company to, if you like?
No, it's full tourist visa now.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean,
as business people, we could go in as tourists, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. So it's same as UAE. You're not officially a tourist, but they're not checking if you're working or not. As long as you're not got a spanner in your hand and you're fixing an oven in the back of some restaurant. If you're just doing sales meeting, I will send the link to Jocelyn. She could share it with everyone. Brilliant. It's an online form. You update a photo, your passport, and that's about it. And within 2 minutes, they send you an e-visa.
How long? When did that change come about? Do you know?
I think it was November last year.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, I've been in 4 times on this type of visa. So.
Okay, great.
It's part of the big push towards the tourism sector. They now even have an independent passport desk just for tourists. They've got men standing there smiling as you get off the airplane, which is brand new to Saudis. And they direct you in the right way, and it's all this new look Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But yeah, as I said, it's very smooth. It's fine. No need for the old expensive visas. Okay. I think it cost us about €40 as well. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
And that's a 2-year multiple entry.
Oh, fantastic.
So even better.
Thanks for that.
No
Sorry, I
worries.
interrupted.
No. Any questions like that? Go ahead. So yeah, short term for Saudi, it's looking very good. Long term, I think it's looking even better. Just if they move away from the oil quick enough. Egypt, I don't know if many people do business in Egypt, but we do quite a lot. At the moment, it's the COVID rate, infections are rising rapidly. The country is, all businesses are working at 50% capacity within the actual employees. So only half the number of employees are allowed in the business, and they're only allowed in for half the amount of days. So Egypt at the moment, I would say, is a no-go. Kuwait, the QSR sector is always strong there, and it has been through this pandemic for us. We've received quite a lot of smaller orders here, but the country is shutting down as the infections rise. So business is slow. We're just relying on QSR at the moment. There's no projects or anything. And Qatar is exactly the same. Lebanon, the economy is completely gone. They can't get money out. I would say don't give anyone any kind of payment terms in Lebanon at all. And LC or anything. It's not worth it. We've got a very strong dealer in Lebanon, and they're trying to pay us and they can't. So unless you get money up front, I wouldn't do anything there. Syria, the new US sanctions, the Caesar Act will have a big effect on there. And then that will have a knock-on effect on places like Jordan as well. The economy is struggling in Jordan. So that's the Middle East mainly, and then India. So India is very different. We've seen in the last 2 weeks a big ramp up of demand in India, inquiries and orders in India. They're locking down differently. So at the moment, New Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore are open. But then areas like Chennai and certain sectors are closed. So it's more of a localized lockdown in India. But business now there is, for me, back to pre-COVID, maybe even a little bit better. We've seen a lot of inquiries, both in projects and day-to-day business as well. And I think that's all my territories, unless someone has a question on somewhere else.
That's brilliant. That's really a very good roundup, Matt. Thanks ever so much for that.
That's all right.
So, yeah. Questions then? Anybody? Or contributions of any sort? I find it really
someone touched on Gulf Food. My stand builder is still saying the 3rd to the 5th of November.
Gulf Host, you mean?
Gulf Host, yeah. Well, yeah, they've mixed it with Gulf Food Manufacturer now, haven't they? So, yeah, 3rd to 5th, he's saying. He usually gets some information early, but what I'll do, I'll keep speaking to him, and then if I hear anything, I'll tell Jocelyn and she can pass it to you all.
Right, great. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
No worries.
How Gary and Robert, I know that you spend quite a lot of time out there. How are you finding things at the moment, in particularly in the Gulf or Middle East?
Well, obviously, I changed roles last year, and it was only a beginning for me out there. So it just went all quite dead, if I'm honest, on that side, and then I concentrated on other places. So obviously, that's why I wanted to hear what Matt had to say. But obviously Robert does an awful lot more over there than I do at the moment. So yeah, I'm in this role.
Okay.
Well, just going off the UNOX Middle East orders, the actual full territory of the Middle East hasn't stopped during lockdown. We've seen an increase year on year compared to last year for each individual month. But that's pulling in from different territories to cover for others. Like we receive a big order from here and a big order from here, so it's made it look quite good. But as a whole, the Middle East for us, as a UNOX company, has been the best performing during the COVID outbreak.
All right, Matt. Sorry, forgive my ignorance. What's your company's supply? Is it refrigeration?
Combi ovens.
Combi ovens, right? Okay, sorry. Thanks.
Have you got
I should add in from. Sorry, I was going to say, from having spoken with a couple of other manufacturers, so I'm Leander from Synergy Grill, just came straight from another call, hence joining halfway through. But having spoken with a couple of others, they have found that the Middle East has done very well, just managing COVID as a whole, UAE and I think Saudi as well, but in particular the UAE. They said, I think part in fact due to the fact that their projects there, this is a couple of fridge manufacturers, that because they're sort of typically 6-month projects, then they were kind of in the pipeline anyway. But yeah, in terms of hospitality activity, apart from social distancing in place, it does seem to have retained the normal more than any other region. I cover international business for our company, Synergy Grill, except North and South America. So I've been doing a lot of work on Europe strategy at the moment. So pretty much every country is open before the UK, as I'm sure you guys all know. But yeah, Middle East is where I'm feeling there's the most ability to at least talk about business rather than just keep reversing straight into, we're on lockdown, so let's talk when things return to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. For UAE and Saudi in particular, as I said, we haven't really skipped a beat out there. We were getting permits for our warehouse managers to go and shift ovens from our stock to make sales during the lockdown and all sorts. And then, as I mentioned, in medium to long-term planning, when you look at 6 months to 2-3 years, the consultants are busy with projects. You have the Expo 2021 now. Saudi Arabia is building a huge amount of hotels. So as an area, not only short-term with COVID, but and I think the way they are, where they do place business ahead of people and the economy ahead of lives, it's sad to say, it will be one of the stronger areas post-COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, sorry, did you want to add anything from your perspective?
Yeah, well, just I'm in pretty much constant contact with the team in Dubai as well, and I suppose it mirrors what Matt had mentioned. There was a lull. The projects that were underway are starting to be ordered and completed now. The last couple of weeks has been a noticeable upturn as well, actually, in inquiries. So that quiet period is mostly gone, but don't forget, Abu Dhabi is still pretty much in total lockdown. Kuwait was for a bit. So wherever there's a spike, they'll lock it down again. I think the numbers, Matt, of actual cases and deaths are pretty low to what we've experienced. And the demographics are completely different. But they're wary of a second spike, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very good on the testing. UAE has a lot of drive-through test centres. Since the start of the pandemic, I mean, they've got a population of less than 10 million, but they've tested over 3 million people. So this is how they kept the lid on it. Then you download an app. You have to self-isolate for 2 weeks, and this app tracks where you are. So they're very good. Just what you touched on a point there, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, they're still locked down. The borders are closed to Dubai, but they are opening restaurants from this weekend. So they're about 2 weeks behind where Dubai was. But as we know, Abu Dhabi, in regards to business, wasn't much anyway. Maybe 10% of what Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah and Fujairah was.
Right. Yeah. And as each emirate within the UAE operating separately, if you like, as opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, the big two ones, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is very, very much more cautious. I don't know, different rulers, but still the testing system and everything to do with that is all combined. It's just the moving from one emirate to the other, which is the main part. Well, again, this is to do with they have lockdown measures in the evening where you have to be in before 8 o'clock on certain nights so they can disinfect, and it's just to try and keep people within their communities, really. And especially during Ramadan, when people want to eat together and go and travel and see the family from 100 miles away, there's to stop all that type of stuff. Yeah,
but the smaller emirates, so Sharjah and Ras Al Khaimah, etc. Their restaurants open?
Yeah, they all mirror Dubai. It's only really Abu Dhabi which is closed.
Right. Okay, great.
Okay. We've pretty much just been awarded a new hotel in Ras Al Khaimah as well, so we can see it's still going. Construction's still moving. There's people still on the sites.
Yeah. And can I just ask, is there a difference between new openings and kind of replacement, top-up business, etc., etc. Because our kind of business, generally speaking, is kind of, if you like, top-up business for restaurants and that sort of thing, as opposed to new openings. And I don't know with others who are participating at the moment whether that's the case, but are you noticing a difference there? Because it's been a bit quiet on our side. We did have one small air freight order, which I was surprised to get anyway, but otherwise it's been pretty quiet. But I would guess that now the restaurants are opening up, that will hopefully pick up a bit.
Yeah, so I'll use an example. We've got a restaurant we're very close to, and they've opened 3, and they were about to open another 3, one in Dubai Mall, and they've put that on hold. So when you separate it out, restaurant openings, I don't think will be there unless they were at 90% and then it hit. For anyone who hasn't put a spade in the ground yet, I don't think they'll be going ahead. But on the other hand, when you look at hotels, they will still go ahead, and the hotel business will be where it is.
Right. Okay. So that's where the business is at the moment, then.
Yeah.
Really.
We're seeing inquiries from QSRs as well, but not at the level we were. So again, QSRs will be cautious. But then if someone's already put $100,000 in to open up a Subway, then that'll go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Are you noticing the same there, Robert? And
We're probably not as much in that sector as some of Matt's stuff. I suppose it has to come because they're going to focus on the local economy, the local population, because they're not going to get the tourists for this year. Let's be realistic. So they're going to have to attract the local market with staycation deals, which again, as Matt said, that's going to be the hotel sector. QSR, I would have thought would be quite static, to be honest, because you've only got that stable local population. Although they're out, they've opened up all. I think everything's open now, Matt. Is it in the malls and
Yeah.
everything now? Yeah.
I've got a friend who works for EMAR as well. For anyone who doesn't know, EMAR is like one of the main developers, and they own a lot of Dubai. And EMAR have opened up all their hotels back again now. They're usually the front runners on what to do and how the market is going. So if they're opening, then you know they're making money, because they would just get rid of someone if they thought it was a waste of time.
right. Yeah.
One of the areas we have got quite a lot of traction with at the moment, and it could be kicking off very soon, is petrol stations. Grab and go food from petrol stations as well. So okay. That seems to be something that's very much on the near horizon. So obviously we do all hot holding, but they'll have like Matt's ovens, or they're using Alto Speed and a few of those. So what's the one on Shakeside Road? Emirat petrol stations on there are doing an awful lot, because they have like bakery concepts and things as well. So I'm seeing that as well. We've not actually put anything in, but that's all trials are going ahead for that now as well. So that's started again. But yeah, so I think that's going to be fairly big.
Yeah, just touching on what Gary said then about the trials, we're still seeing a huge amount of people come to we've got a test kitchen in Dubai, and we're still getting people coming as per pre-COVID. So anything like that, trials with supermarkets, people coming in to try the machines, open days, we're back to normal levels now, which is a good sign.
That's good. Yeah. Anyone else got any other questions? Anything they want to chip in with?
Again, me and Matt, the region as a whole, is there any developments in the healthcare side? That we were going to see an awful lot of investment in this country. Is there any move towards that in any of the markets across there?
We haven't seen it. We're not too strong in healthcare, though. It's an area I've pushed my team to get into, but we're at the very early stages. So any feedback I give you will just be based on reactive sales more than anything we've done proactively. We haven't seen any uptake. My thought would be there's so many hospitals and beds available. We kind of don't need any new ones. Even if the whole of Dubai needed a bed, you could pretty much get one in. So even though it'll be a strong sector to not stop ordering and to carry on as normal, I don't see any new oomph in that sector, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, fair point. I can ask. I mean, our Ali colleagues at Metro, they separate between food service and healthcare. So I'll keep me Well, you know Gary Toms, don't you? But keep
Yeah,
me
yeah.
on board with him to see how they're faring. But I think that's a fair comment. I think the Gulf in particular is very well supplied with hospitals and beds per number of population. Saudi being the biggest, but yeah, I'd say the same. We've had out basically in that sector. But you'd think there must be something.
Yeah, I think they'll just carry on as normal, even during the pandemic and then in the future.
Do you guys find that still most of the procurement with Saudi is still being done through the more well-established UAE distributors, suppliers, or through the Saudi?
No, I'll go. For me, no, not really. Obviously, you have Falcon who dabble in a bit of both. FEA try to, but for me, our main business in Saudi is with Saudi dealers.
Yeah.
And this is the best way to go. It's Saudis will look upon a UAE company as just as that, a UAE company.
Yeah.
They'll get work when there's a crossover, QSRs, or maybe a restaurant who's franchising out and they know them from, they want a trusted one they use in the UAE. But for Saudi work, especially the government work, because there's so many palaces in Saudi and all the Mecca work and everything, if you want to get into any of that, it has to be Saudi based. Yeah.
Yeah. Has there been what's the latest on the newer airport, if you like, sort of in the direction of Ras Al Khaimah? Is it? I can't remember now. Is it Ras Al Khaimah? It's supposed to be. In that direction?
Yeah, no, it's more south towards Abu Dhabi. It's for the expo. Yeah, right. That's it was an extension of the old one, but the stuff for that's already pretty much gone ahead. They were almost ready to open just before the expo. So I don't see, there'll be a few little restaurants here and there ordering stuff, but don't see any big influx of equipment going in for that.
But wasn't Emirates actually going to be moving their main base to that new one?
Yeah, they will eventually, but that'll be split for the expo. So right now, because the expo is delayed, that'll be delayed as well. But then a lot of the construction work is already done, and I from what I think, a lot of the procurement will already be done there as well.
Right. Okay.
But the expo work is still 50-50. Some's done, lots to come.
Right.
The expo being delayed, I think the one of the best things to come out of all this, because they were late with all the orders anyway. It was going to be a mad rush and everything was going to go in and not work, because when things are rushed for installation and everything, this is where the biggest mess up comes. And then it will also form towards the end of this year and the first half of next year to give the economy the boost that it needs. And then you'll get the tourists in towards the end of next year. So for the Dubai economy, the expo moving is perfect.
Have they actually replicated the dates? Because it was actually starting in October, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly same. October 2021 to April 2022.
Right, thanks. Magic.
Hi, Matt. Could I ask a question? We've had some queries regarding Saudi and the enforcement of SASO.
Yeah.
Is it being more heavily acted upon from your experience?
Yeah, you won't be able to ship anything there now unless you got the SABA certification. So they moved away from calling it SASA or whatever, and had this new Sabre system. Sabre system's an online system. I would say go get it done. It's worth the money. A lot of the dealers there, talking about what we were talking before, UAE dealers and Saudi dealers. A lot of the Saudi dealers are very well versed on how to get it set up for your products. So get a good dealer, create your spreadsheet, get it all done, and then you can keep that spreadsheet for any new dealer who wants to use it as well. But you have to have the Sabre. I wouldn't be doing business there without it. You'll get a container stuck at port for a year and then sent back to you with a bunch of charges.
Okay.
The only other thing was obviously the new Sabre import duties, which has gone up to around 15% now for catering equipment. We were sitting, I think it was 8 to 12% anyway, so depending on the type of equipment, it's a rise of 3%. So not hugely negative for our industry, but you look at the price of food, and food's going up by 15% on the import duties. Again, this is all part, this isn't reactionary, so it's nothing to worry about. It's all part of the move away from oil. So they're just bringing it up in line with other areas, really. You look at India, India's 30% on our products.
Great. Okay, thanks. Keith, have you got any, Keith or Jocelyn, have you had any more questions from people who have kind of messaged you?
No.
I was going to ask a question, if that's okay, Matt. Sorry, John Temple from Tablecraft. So we're very much on the smallware side of business. We do a little bit with Saudi at the moment, and it's an area that I'm keen for us to look more into in the future. But we do quite a lot with the UAE, good relationships, and we find them quite trustworthy, although they don't like to pay too quickly. Is that similar in Saudi, or are they better or worse payers?
So the payments are good in Saudi. They've got money. The government pay them a lot better than the UAE government do. It's the problem with UAE is these too many dealers. It's been a problem for a long time. So now that to fight for the work, they've got no margin left. They've got no sold products left. So now they offer bad payment terms, and they push that back onto you. In Saudi, they don't. There's not loads of dealers, so they're kind of at the good part where UAE was about 10 years ago. So I find that dealers in Saudi are a lot more trustworthy. Once you build that relationship with them, they very much honour that relationship, and that's exactly what it is. It is a relationship. They don't play me off against other manufacturers. Once you're in with them, you're in with them. You do good by them, and they'll do the same. So with regards to payment, we've started to give out payment terms to certain dealers, but we've made them earn it. 6 months, pay on time. Okay, we'll give you an extra month here, and we've worked it that way. And it's been very reasonable from both sides. We've noticed it's a lot nicer doing business in Saudi than it is in UAE.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
No
Matt, we happen to have an order on hand at the moment for Saudi, and one of the things that's because we deal in small wares like John from Tablecraft, one of the officially the customs line is that every item has to be marked with the country of origin. Now with larger products, that's maybe not quite so difficult because you don't have quite so many. But when you're dealing with maybe, or you say you're supplying 1,000 items on an order, as in individual products, for small wares, that can be quite tricky. Have you got any tips or whatever to offer?
Yeah, very difficult. I mean, our equipment's a little bit bigger. We do have smaller equipment like the trays, which we do have to put country of origin on. It's very difficult. With Saudi, I'd say this is my best guess because I don't have such small equipment. We put it on. But with Saudi, it all depends on who's looking in the customs department. Sometimes a letter to say these are all the same product and it's the outside of the box is the country of origin. Sometimes this is okay. But it depends who opens the box or who checks. It's a very difficult one. I would lean on your dealer. And are they shipping, or are they picking up, or you shipping?
Well, originally I quoted X Works. Then it looked like they were applying for an LC for freight prepaid. They are now saying, yeah, X Works would be okay. But obviously they've mentioned, I think it's the Sabre certificate that you were just talking about, actually, rather than Sasso, because Sasso was the one up until relatively recently, and then they dropped this one on us yesterday, which they didn't mention a few months ago because we got the order just before lockdown, actually. So I think they're sort of giving what customs are saying, and implying that unless the item is very small, that we're going to have to put something on. How you do that, I don't know.
Yeah. It's very difficult because,
It's
as you said, then very small is up for discussion. There's a lot of grey areas in it. My advice would be pick up the phone to the local Intertech and ask them, who are you getting the Sabre through? Are you getting Intertech or another company?
Haven't got that far yet. I've literally just found out about it yesterday, and along with a load of other points on his email. I'm not able to do that.
So, I mean, what I would do is get your dealer to speak to Intertech in Saudi, and you speak to Intertech in the UK, and then get them to talk and find out, just get a definitive answer on the grey area, and then you can make a decision either way. We found Intertech a bit slow. Sorry.
You say Intertech?
Yeah, Intertech.
Okay. Can you drop Jocelyn the details, please?
Yeah. There's another company. We find Intertech in Saudi Arabia a little bit difficult to deal with, and we use another company. Can't remember what the name is, SB something, but I'll get their details for you as well, and you can speak to them. And yeah, they will be able to put a definitive answer on for you. That was what I would do. I would pick up the phone to them.
Okay, thanks. So hopefully that'll be useful for you too, John.
So yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
On this one, guys, we got Williams China got approval for all their products of Chinese origin because they've got a very good relationship with the local approver. We've tried in the UK for Falcon and Williams with SGS and Intertech, and I won't swear Jocelyn in front of you, but both are absolutely hopeless.
Right. SGS for us in Italy are quite good. I don't know about UK, but Intertech are a complete pile of shite, if I'm honest.
Yeah, good luck with it, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to need it. Thanks.
We'll just play them off against each other. As a new customer, you'll probably get a better service than someone else anyway. They always look after you better at the beginning, so just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Jocelyn, I'll email you. I've got one contact, but as I said, I think it's a she actually. They've been absolutely hopeless. I'll forward that on. Maybe if you get a mass approach, or somebody's bigger than me, you might have some effect. I'll send that on now.
Okay. Yeah, so Matt, I suppose my biggest fear is something gets stuck in the port, and as you said, and then stuff getting sent back. Really, so that's the thing. We're just not to avoid.
But once you get the approval from Intertech, because they have the local office, then it puts a lot more of the puts it on them a lot more to get it through.
Right. Okay. How long does that sort of thing normally take? Yeah. Sorted?
I would say we plan 2 to 3 weeks, so they have to come and check everything as well. If you've never had the approval from them before, they may want to come and do a factory check, which will take obviously a bit longer.
Okay. Thanks for that. Anybody else any queries regarding either Middle East or India, or is it just India you cover as far as India, or?
Yeah, Middle East, and then the more Arabic Africa countries across the north, and India as well. Well, it stops at Bangladesh, and then it becomes Unox Asia.
What about the rest of North Africa?
Even without COVID, it's very slow. There's a lot of terrorism going on there. Algeria's okay. Places like Libya and stuff like that, I don't touch at the moment. Keep away.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, Matt, if nobody else has got anything else they want to add, thank you very much for that contribution. It's been fantastic, really helpful.
No problem. So, if anyone needs any questions or anything in the future, or anything comes up, Jocelyn, I'm sure, can share my details. I'm happy for us to do it. Just send me an email. And then if you're ever over in Dubai, I welcome you to the office for a coffee.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks very much, Matt.
No problem.
Thank you, Matt.
Cheers, everyone. See you soon.
Keith, just looking at, or Justin, just looking at the what you've got on the topics. You've got down Saudi Arabia customs alert. Is that, Keith, what you were thinking of that you mentioned?
Keith, you're on mute still.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yes, it was. Thank you, Steve. That's covered.
Okay, great. Okay, so thanks. Okay. So overseas exhibitions updates. Jocelyn, you or Keith, I assume, on this one. Are you able to fill us in?
Yeah, there's not much to say other than what we already talked about with both hosts, so that's pretty much covered. We also talked about the expo. At the last export meeting, we talked about the Matham show. There's been no changes there. It's still in August next year. Are there exhibitions that we should know about and we need to spread the news to others? Perhaps you all have heard of?
I don't know. There was. I don't know how frequently the one in India takes place, and I don't know when that takes place. I've forgotten. But assuming that exhibitions like in Hotel Asia, etc. There's one that was taking place in Australia. I don't know whether that's. I can't. I saw something the other day, but I didn't actually look at the details. I didn't see whether that's actually gone ahead. But anybody else familiar with what's happening in other countries?
In Australia, yeah. So they both the largest one being Fine Food in September. That's been moved. They just cancelled that and going ahead with next year's one. FSA, Foodservice Australia, which was due to be in May, they've moved to November. I think 23rd to 25th of November off the top of my head. They've actually sent, and FSA organisers actually sent an email out this morning saying it's definitely going ahead.
Later this year?
Yeah, November this year.
Okay.
And that's the sort of second largest show there. Fine Food being September every year is, but just they cancelled this year's one, and September 2021 will be the next Fine Food one.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. And does anybody know what's happening with the Hong Kong show or any of the ones in China?
I'm going to the Hong Kong restaurant and bar. That's already booked in. That's still going ahead. So that's in September. They've reallocated some stands and things like that for it. So
that's on, is it?
Yeah. It's like anything else, isn't it? At the moment, it's all planned and everything's going ahead, and we've been asked to ship kit over there anyway for it. So I'm booked in to go as well. So. Yeah, as far as I know at the moment, it's still on.
Right.
Very sorry, folks. I've got to jump onto another call now, so I'm going to have to leave. But thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Okay,
Thank
John,
you. Cheers.
Jocelyn, have we heard anything about host for next year? I know it's we're talking 15 months away, but have they just kept quiet at the moment? Because obviously they probably planned a long way ahead.
I've not heard anything from house. No.
Right. Okay. And you've heard, Keith? No.
Say that again, Steve.
I was just asking if Keith had heard anything.
No further information, Steve.
Okay. Right. Yeah. And with the American ones, we'd already said they've been postponed one till next year now, aren't they? Is that right? NAFEM and
It's postponed from February to August.
Right. Okay.
I don't know about NRA. Not heard anything.
Okay. Anybody know about NRA?
Yeah.
Not had any updates yet.
Okay. Great. Okay. Export section of the FEA website. Jocelyn.
So this was brought up.
Tell us.
Yeah, this was brought over from the actions from the last meeting regarding profiling the companies that are FEA members that export and have a way to kind of promote that you are exporting. So I'm working with the developers of the website to figure out how to make that happen, whether it be a standalone page on the FEA website where it profiles those companies that export. So you may get an email from me relatively soon, hopefully as soon as IT figures out what they're doing, regarding where you export to, so what sections of the world, and they'll be broken down into North America, South America, and so on. With that data I can then input, and then that will show up on the FEA website. So it would be separate from, this is the idea at the moment, but it would be separate from the Meet the Members section on the website. It would be its own little separate exporting page, essentially highlight you twice on the FEA website. But just keep out an eye for an email from me asking you for data, because it just gives you the profile as a member. Nothing set in stone,
Okay.
just to give you an update of what's cooking.
Excellent.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks. Where are we now? Okay, and then focus after COVID. I mean, we've had a pretty good update, a very good update from Matt. Anybody got anything they want to chip in on, or Jocelyn or Keith, got any thoughts?
So Keith wanted to use this time to export conditions and the FSEM work. So Keith, if you could take over, I just stopped sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Just a couple of points for an update. FSEM, which is our European federation, it's the 9 national associations around Europe, has had 2 meetings recently, one with UL and the other with C2P, compliance to product is what that stands for. Both offer a broadly similar service in that if you are looking to export to a particular country, you can pull that country up and see what legislation and regulation applies specifically to food service products within the platform. And it will also give you some of the localized information that might be useful in the case of energized products, for example, whether it's at 50 or 60 hertz, what the power supply is, and so on. So in having those 2 meetings, the FSEM General Assembly last week took the decision to follow up on it with a view to seeing whether as FSEM it could become a facilitator of an introduction to companies to be able to access that data. Certainly in terms of the amount of resource that it would take to find that information out independently, it's a very quick and very effective way of identifying it. Ostensibly, as I say, the 2 platforms are broadly similar. C2P has more depth in it than UL, and it probably looks like the UL website and service is a vanilla version of what the C2P product is, but with UL branding then put on top of it. So it's just to let you know that's going on in the background. As soon as FSEM has decided what the route will be, and it had the choice of going for either one or other of the services to promote to members, or to provide both to members, and hopefully with some added benefit or a discount in order that you can get access to the information you need. So we'll bring you up to speed on that as required. The other piece of information that I thought you may want to see, and if I just share a screen in a second. And this is just a report that was produced by Make UK, and I could send around the full report. Can we see that screen? Has everybody got that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. So Make UK are what used to be the Engineering Employers Federation, which I'm sure will be known to many of you.
Oh yeah.
So they represent predominantly the manufacturing and engineering sector. They're an influential body. We're an affiliate partner to Make UK, and so we act as a transporter of some of their information. I don't have information in terms of what the size of the base was for this research, or indeed the composition of it. But whilst none of this is good news, as we probably expect in the current climate. If it's of use to any of you, I thought I'd put it up. So what it shows are UK prices in blue against export prices in orange, and the change that's gone on across Q1 and Q2, and also the resultant effect on margins, both as UK margins, which you see there as the red, and export margins. And essentially what we're seeing is a lack of confidence in the market and the problems, and the summary at the bottom really covers off what the changes are in the market. If I can, just to use this as a follow-up for a webinar that we have running tomorrow morning at 11, where we have asked UK, well, the members of the FEA in the UK for their view of what they think the market will be in 6, 12 and 18 months time. So it will give an indication of what we think we're doing in production. It won't specifically focus on export, but it will give an overview. And we've also tried to track a little bit of other work that's going on. There are some other graphs within the Make UK document that I'll put up and present as well as our own data. So that's at 11 o'clock tomorrow. If you have the time or the wish to join it, it's free access, and we'd be pleased to see you there as well. So I don't know whether, I guess that graph is pretty much what you're all feeling, but if there are any questions, or if there's any information that you think we can provide you with, then please do let us know, and we'll try and do so.
Just to say, Keith, it's fairly interesting to see that if you're comparing UK and export prices and UK and export margins, really they're pretty similar.
Yes, they are. Yes.
But I guess it's going to depend. So, for example, if you've been selling to Saudi, as an example, it probably look a little bit different. You know, if there's specific markets, and I suppose that's the key at the moment, that certain markets will be doing better than others, particularly as some have come out of lockdown earlier than others.
Yeah, and I do have a slide that does indicate some of that, and we do see a bounce back effect, which again might be useful. The difficulty with this is finding one source of objective data is very challenging. There tend to be lots of different reports, and of course for the most part they'll be focused on the operator market. And within the FSM meeting last week, we did do a round table of the state of play in different countries, and as the economies are emerging and food services opening up, then we're starting to see some return to a form of normality anyway, but it's patchy.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, thanks for that, Keith. Any questions from anybody on that? Okay, well, Jocelyn, have you got anything else that that you want to raise, or whatever?
No, we've come to the end of the agenda. Is there any other business from any other? Robert said he's sorry he has to leave for another meeting, so he's gone now too.
And apologies if I missed this at the beginning, because I see that grants was a agenda point there. I did go through about 2 weeks ago the whole list of the DIT's grants available for every industry they do, just to make sure that none were going to be missed out if I use their filter. But right up till I think April next year, and it was only literally for our industry, I think Gulf Host this year, and I think Horeca in Netherlands in sort of March next year, maybe one in Sweden as well, January next year. But I didn't see any other trade shows where normally the DIT is pretty proactive on grants available, where it's typically sort of 50% of up to £3,000 worth of expenditure, so £1,500 just towards flight, hotel. Were there any other key grants there that I may have missed, or indeed any other grants? I mean, I was going to ask Matt as well earlier about the Middle East, given the Middle East is proactive about attracting, is one of the most proactive countries as a whole about, or the UAE is in terms of attracting foreign interests and manufacturers. Are there sort of any supplies, additional grants available to encourage people to come along to the likes of Golf Host or any trade shows?
I'll address your question specifically. So we had a webinar with DIT this morning, hence
Okay.
move this meeting to a bit later.
Okay.
And the update is that most exhibitions who have been canceled, that if your exhibition has moved into the next fiscal year, we're going to have to try to reapply and try to get that grant. It doesn't automatically transfer over to the next fiscal year. But for our industry, you were right. Golf Host is, as far as we know, still happening. We've not heard otherwise. And we do have grants for that show. And then we also had them for the NAFM show, but that got moved until the next fiscal year. So we'll have to apply to PIT again.
Right.
NAFM show. Those are, and then Host in Milan, that's another show, but that won't be till the next fiscal year either. So again,
Okay.
after that.
Just to clarify, Jocelyn, is the fiscal year till 5th of April?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And when would you expect to get clarity on availability for next fiscal year? Sort of.
PIT does not have a good track record with this standard, unfortunately. They often tell us when we're actually in the fiscal year. So.
Oh, really? So they might not tell you until April.
They're not.
Even Milan Host gets booked up about a year before that, then.
So that they do realize that, but they are limited because the government. We've been pushing, and not us, but the trade associations in general have been pushing to try to get them to do TAP grants on a 2-year basis, just so that we can plan. But it don't work that way. They only do it year to year. So we try, but they, as I said in this morning's webinar, they addressed it again and said, sorry, we understand that, but it's unlikely that we're going to get 2-year.
Okay.
But there's a big challenge, if I can just add to what Jocelyn said there, Leander, in that I remember, well, about 20 years ago, there used to be over £20 million worth of budget for the sort of work that we're talking about here. I think it's down at about 7 or 8 million at the moment. And the Treasury don't particularly like export funding because they believe it's difficult to prove the value of the funding in developing sales. That's the key crux. And so we come under pressure every year, and we do a lot of work through the Sponsors Alliance, which is a group, all the trade challenge partner organisations. There are only 100 of us, but we put significant political pressure on government to keep the channels open on this. Every year, it's a matter of jumping through hurdles to get the funding, and then they begrudgingly let the money go. But it gets pushed to the wire pretty much every year. We have to assume that the budgets are going to be under even more significant pressure because Rishi's going to want to save as much money as he can, but also our role is to recognise that the need for export growth, alongside a whole host of trade deals that are likely to be done, mean that we should be supporting, as the UK should be supporting exporters in exploring these markets and taking advantage of those deals. But there's a disconnect in all of this between the Treasury, the Department of International Trade, and also to an extent the Foreign and Commonwealth Office as well. And that's why the funding has a challenge. In terms of our remit for supporting shows overseas, if we're going to support them as the FEA, it's as a UK pavilion. And we tend towards the feeling that it needs at least 6 stands to form a pavilion. Anything less than that isn't really a pavilion. And also we need to cover our costs to support the show and attend. And it is a challenge to find 6 companies, all of whom want to go to the same market at a particular time, usually fight to find a distributor to see them through with what they're doing. And a distributor relationship tends to last 2, 3, 4 years, perhaps, and then there'll be maybe a need to find a different distributor. So there isn't a need to exhibit annually to get to the end user base necessarily. So we have tried that. We've tried AHA in India, Moscow, some other national exhibitions, Hostelco in Spain, Tusid in Turkey, but we can't get the critical mass together to do it. So that's why we focus more on the regional shows, because by doing NAFM, by doing Golf Host, by doing the Host exhibition in Milan, you're picking up some strong regional contacts rather than doing a myriad of local national exhibitions. So that's, but what I would say is if there is interest from a group of exporters wanting to go to a particular country, then we're more than happy and would be keen to support it. It's a passion of mine. It's always been a passion of the team and before the FEA Caesar to support exports as best we can, so we're not marginalised.
Yeah, I suppose, and I'm sure with your great organisation as a team that maybe something along the same lines has been done. But if there's whether on the export section of your website or elsewhere, if that sort of list of sort of soft, very possible potential candidates, if it's sort of pulled together. I mean, for example, out of those you mentioned, Spain. I'm not sure what you mentioned, Milan host with regards to Italy, Moscow. It seems to be that we've set up recently distribution for Central and Eastern Europe, and we're using a sales agent, and it seems to be that a local presence, local dealers do that. But and they said the dealers wouldn't have an issue with me spending one day on one dealer stand, another day on another, and another day on another, which is fairly foreign to most shows. I've not seen that being done elsewhere before. But yeah, we're like, we, for example, are sort of, 50%, not 100% committed, sort of 50% interested in a few of those for sure. As you know, the big issue with Gulf Host is they don't allow any gas, bottle or otherwise, to switch on, to defeat the big part of, we don't consider any trade shows normally without them.
But the interesting point Jocelyn picked up on was that we think, I think you said Monday, Jocelyn, that we'll hear an announcement regarding support for a virtual or virtual exhibition or support for companies. Well, Jocelyn's on the case of developing the export element of the FEA website. If that's the case on Monday, then we will be able to move very quickly to provide something that could perform that function. So I think you might hear something, if we get a sensible indication that we can go ahead with it on Monday, then we'll be straight in with a proposal which could deliver that. Because if we can reduce the physical cost of attending an exhibition, if we can find a way of getting a message into those markets, and for the most part, we want a distributor message. So if we could get a group of distributors together in any particular region to come on and visit the site and talk to companies in this sort of on this sort of a platform, perhaps show them some product, how the product works, it overcomes some of the issue. They won't be able to taste the piece of steak, Leander, but we'll get them as close to it as we possibly can.
Oh, that's just the smoking barrel. That's okay. Good. That sounds like a really, really good idea. On your earlier point about DIT being very difficult to get funding, and every week I speak with Nick Wolf, East of England DIT, and I was on a call with him an hour ago, and I know that the various individuals really are doing their efforts. I had a call earlier this morning with DIT Belgium as well, really, truly very helpful, done some very helpful research. So I was going to ask which, well, firstly, it sounds like the DIT and the department within government they refer to, that is the decision maker on grants available. It sounds like they need to be spoon-fed through the information that shows how the funds are connected to sales. I'm sure if some form was created, whether that's from the DIT or you guys with some input from manufacturers, the information they need to demonstrate the connection between funds and sales, us as manufacturers would happily take that time to fill something like that in, even if it's asking not for instance.
That's just been introduced this year with something called Export Wins. So everybody that has a TAP grant being granted to them has to agree to give the data to the FEA, which we then input in a DIT portal on Export Wins. So this started in October last year. So Host Milan, for those who got the TAP grants, I think there's something like 7 or 8 companies.
Okay.
Required to provide the data to me, which I then have to input in the portal for DIT for Export Wins. And that we have to do that within 1 year of the trade show itself. So I have to do it before October 2020. That just started. So they're using that data to then figure out where's the best place to put their funds.
Oh, correct. Yeah, sorry, we did it, I remember, for, I think, 2 Australia shows. And we did it, if I should say, even if it wasn't directly the connections from DIT, and I can think humorously of one example where they're very helpful intention-wise and with efforts, but all of our sales were due to building up with our alternative
Yeah.
building out the distribution agent, we did sort of credit DIT with this idea of, oh, we never would have got any of these if it wasn't.
Exactly. There is a lot of crossover.
Yeah. To be fair, the DIT, DTI, and whoever's off the TAP grant, actually, we have had to provide some information to give some indication of what some outcome and in terms of figures, sales figures or whatever. So for years now, actually, but maybe this will be a bit more detailed. I don't know, but
Yes, it's quite detailed.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Jocelyn. Thanks very much, Keith, and for everyone who is still with us. And that's been really helpful and great speaker. Thanks, Jocelyn and Keith, for getting Matt.
Quite helpful having Matt. I agree.
Thank you both. Yeah.
All Jocelyn's work. Thank you. Any ideas for a next one?
Anybody else want to hear from a different region?
I guess we may be able to get UL now, Jocelyn.
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be good. Yeah. I would say if you've got somebody with some experience of Asia or some other area of growth regionally, that would be great. Obviously, Matt's experience is sort of Middle East, North Africa, and so on. But yeah, if anyone's got some other experience of other regions that we know of, if we can find someone, that would be fantastic. Yeah. But really, really good. Thanks, Jocelyn.
From our side, we're just from Synergy Grill's point of view, we're focusing a lot on Europe, and because there are different languages, cultures. Scandinavia loves sustainability. Belgium is more like the UK, where it's really not so important in terms of decision making. Then, someone from our point of view, someone speaking from Germany, Benelux countries, or Scandinavia. Scandinavia is a smaller market, so Germany, maybe France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Benelux would be, particularly Germany would be number one. But.
Yeah, particularly with Brexit coming up.
Yeah, exactly. When I think, and unless I'm sort of biasedly optimistic in that point of view, but when I feel people are, most Brits are now sort of more opportunistically looking at Europe rather than sort of doom and gloom.
Some.
Okay, great. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then we'll wrap it up and say thanks very much again, Jocelyn and Keith, and for everyone else for joining us. Thanks a lot. And Jocelyn, you put out a new date.
Bye, Leander.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Steve. Thanks, guys.
Bye then.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.